recent video, I mentioned that there are two major things going on in the world right now, specifically from a US or American perspective. Those two things are, one, a deadly global pandemic that is changing life as we know it and putting people's lives at risk, and two, a fight for racial equality within the United States. Now, who do we know that might be able to exploit both of those things at the exact same time? Well, multi-level marketing companies definitely, but surprisingly, today's video is not about them. No, today we are going to be talking about one particular person, someone who a lot of people previously in the AuthorTube and Booktube and small business tube, small business owner community, specifically the women in business community, had previously considered to be a hero. Today, we are going to be talking about the founder of Erin Condren Planners, Miss Erin Condren herself. What's up, my fellow small business supporters? I'm Savvy. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to my channel for the first time. If you're new, please don't forget to subscribe. Every Monday and Friday, I put out new videos related to the world of an author and a creative small business owner. I also talk a lot about drama that goes on within the multi-level marketing MLM community. So if those things interest you, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. The reason it's also important to me is that I'm a small business owner myself. I'm the founder of Forever Home Friends, a series of children's books and stuffed animals based on real rescue dogs and their journeys to adoption. So I'm talking about things that affect small business owners and particularly women in business. For many of us, the world of being a small business owner or being an author or being a creative person trying to juggle many projects at a time, we are often very involved in the planner community or in the world of planners and bullet journals and that kind of thing. Now, I am not like balls deep in the planner community or anything. Like, I am not, I don't make a ton of videos about planner stuff. I have done a few plan with me videos in the past, and I've done a few bullet journaling videos and those kind of things because having a planner, I actually have like 3 different planners that I regularly use: my Google Calendar, my 5-year planner, and my Clever Fox planner. And I've made videos about my processes for planning. I'll link some of those up in the card. So the planner world is important to me. It is important to find a system that works for me and a system that helps me juggle everything going on, especially when I'm working multiple jobs on top of running my own small business, on top of writing my own books and producing my own YouTube content. It gets to be really overwhelming, and having a planner where I can plan things out by year, by week, and then by day and by to-do list, and to divide things into categories, finding a system that worked for me was really, really important. Now, I know for a lot of people, Erin Condren's planners have been the solution to this. A lot of people have sworn by her planners, have said that her planners are some of the most, amazing planners out there. And, I haven't tried one. I've watched a few videos of people unboxing them and using them, and I thought, these look pretty good. Maybe I will try one in the future. So I had been considering it, but not anymore. Not now. Not after what she did. As a brief disclaimer, just so you guys know, I'm sure it's clear to you guys that there's a lot going on in the world right now related to racism and relating to a fight for racial justice and racial equality and end to racial profiling and all of that. You can pretty obviously tell from looking at me that I am white. I am incredibly pale. I'm aware of this. I believe in the importance of listening to people's first-person accounts of things that have happened to them and things that they've experienced. I've always been a believer that no one knows your life story and your experiences better than you do. And because of that, while we are working on fighting for more racial equality, I think it's really important to listen to Black people telling their own experiences and talking about their own perspectives on a variety of topics. So I found a video called White Privilege in the Planner Community, and I've linked that in the description below if you guys want to check that out, because I think it's important to listen to creators from their own perspective and all of that. So definitely check out that video as well. It is really informative. Based on Erin Condren's past, not that I am an expert on her outside of what happened right now, based on a few things I've seen her post, it might come as kind of a surprise that she has done something so racially, culturally, and pandemically insensitive recently. For those of you who don't know, here's a little bit of quick background information on Erin Condren. This is her website. She and her company design these planners that have, like, life planner, teacher planner, monthly planner. They do planner accessories, they do planner stickers, they do calendars, they do all different kinds of things for people who are really serious about making their planner either a hobby or who have to plan a ton of things in their life. I think it's a cool brand and a cool idea. And Erin Condren also posted on her website recently this post called Erin Condren for Black Lives Matter. So I will go over what she's talking about here, and then we will see how things just kind of instantly took a turn and invalidated everything she said here, because she did literally one of the most tone-deaf things. I won't say the most, because I don't know if you guys have seen my multi-level marketing companies exploiting the Black Lives Matter movement video, but some of them could give each other a run for their money. That's all I'll say. Alright, so here we've got Erin Condren stands behind the self-evident truth that Black Lives Matter. We stand in solidarity with our Black team members, partners, and community against racism, violence, injustice, hate, and systematic inequality. We're committed to justice, to change, to action in support of righting wrongs against Black Americans that have gone on for far too long. And then, see, I thought this was all good. She has what we're doing about it. We're committed to fostering the very difficult conversations that must happen to address justice and equality in our company and in our communities. We are committed to saying enough is enough. We are committed to educating ourselves and applying what we learn to affect change. Here's what we are doing. Donations. We are donating to UNCF, the nation's largest and most effective minority education organization. In support of students and teachers in need, we are also organizing the distribution of planners and classroom supplies to schools in impacted areas. This is just the start. We are committed to real change, and real change does not happen overnight. We're digging in for the long uphill journey stretching before us all. Diversity and inclusion initiatives. Internally, we have created a diversity, inclusion, and equality team. We're currently vetting mental health professionals to facilitate online workshops and office hours for healing and mental health support for our BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, and people of color coworkers, as well as our coworkers living in impacted areas. We strongly believe education is at the core of any development, personal, professional, and societal. That's why we are also hiring a social justice educator to facilitate a series of online workshops accessible to our entire team in an effort to learn, share, and grow together. And then she lists a bunch of Black planner content creators to follow. This was like, great, good job, that's good that she's using her platform for this. Unfortunately, she negated it all when this happened. Check it out. Here's the article. Fans are canceling Erin Condren for exploiting the Black Lives Matter movement. So it seems what Erin Condren did was support the movement in her professional life, but in her personal life did exactly the opposite. Let's see. She went from being a stay-at-home mom to building a multi-million-dollar brand from the ground up, and now she's one of the biggest names in the planner community. Erin Condren, a mother of 4, has been adored and labeled an inspiration by countless fans since her business took off. But now it looks like everyone's favorite planner guru is in hot water. When Erin learned that her teenage twins wouldn't be able to celebrate graduation with their peers, she took it upon herself to pull a few strings and help make that happen. However, this well-meaning gesture turned out to be a completely tone-deaf and selfish move, and now several fans are refusing to support her brand. What exactly did Erin do, and why are fans so determined to cancel her? Read on to find out. Oh, and by the way, this article is written by Nikisha Campbell, and I will link the article in the description below. I always like to remind everyone, it's important to cite your sources. It all began when Erin Condren learned that her kids couldn't have a traditional graduation ceremony. Erin and her 2 teenage twins, Kate and Finn Cody, were looking forward to graduation. But because of the coronavirus pandemic and the fact that California had a record number of new cases, Mira Costa High School had to close down its campus and cancel their commencement ceremony, which was going to be held at Waller Stadium. Because of this, Principal Ben Dale, the Parents' Graduation Committee, and the school committee proposed a plan where students could get their diplomas in smaller groups of 50 at the stadium. However, the proposal got rejected by the county health department. Okay, so before we go further, before we get into the really problematic stuff, from the beginning, we know that this pandemic is affecting a ton of people. We know that this pandemic is putting people's lives at risk, particularly people who are immunocompromised, people who are elderly, people who have pre-existing conditions, and especially people who can't afford advanced medical treatment because as we all know, the healthcare system in this country of ours is broken as hell. So there's all of that going on. It does suck for graduating seniors that they don't get to have a graduation ceremony, and it sucks for their parents. I get that. I was very fortunate to be able to attend a graduation ceremony, so I understand why people would be upset. But this is a time where people are having to make a ton of sacrifices. I made a whole video about how my small business that I run has been impacted by this pandemic, and how even though I've been losing a ton of profit, even though I've had to completely restructure and redo my plans for the entire year of 2020, how I still think that the social distancing is important and needs to be our first priority, because people's lives go above everything else. Principal Dale said, "We saw it as a reasonable plan consistent with the county health department guidelines. Small groups of graduates socially distanced, no parents, we'd live stream it." But Erin, who's part of the parents' graduation committee, made another suggestion that was far-fetched and just disturbing. She said the one thing that students made very clear when we surveyed them was that they wanted to be together for graduation, even if that meant postponing the graduation.
Why didn't you just postpone the graduation then?
We even talked about putting hula hoops on the beach for each student, so if the authorities said it was an illegal gathering, they could start hula hooping and say it was an exercise class. What? I just don't know California law that well, but if you have an illegal gathering and it's an exercise class, like, wouldn't exercise classes also be an illegal gathering? I don't understand what she's getting at there. That's just odd. Anyway, thankfully the class decided against that second plan and settled with having families drive up to the Waller Stadium entrance where each graduate could enter and receive their diploma individually. Parents could not enter with their kids, but they were allowed to snap photos from their cars. It seemed like a decent enough solution to the graduation problem, but the festivities didn't end there. Comment below your thoughts. Do you think this seemed like a decent solution? Because I do. I think that, yeah, great. You had, it's not the big celebration you had planned, but the teenagers, the seniors involved in this already said they were fine with it being postponed. So they could just do this thing now where people drive up one-on-one, go get the diploma, small groups, not tons of people. They could just do that. And then when it's been deemed safe and that the spread of the virus is slowed down enough, or a vaccine's been developed, or whatever, even if it's a couple years in the future, they could then get together and have a postponed celebration, and I bet that would be super fun as well. I don't see why anything further had to happen, but of course it did. Erin and her kids helped organize a Black Lives Matter march to mask their big graduation party. I shouldn't be shocked and appalled at human behavior anymore. I've made enough of these videos to know that people will do some really stupid, really insensitive, really mean and evil and horrible shit. The committees may have succeeded at planning a ceremony without breaking any guidelines, but as far as they were concerned, they were still going to get the celebration that they wanted. Erin's daughter and student body president Kate said, "In March we were told to stay home for 2 weeks, then we never went back. There was no sense of closure." I understand why teenagers would be feeling sad. I understand why she feels sad about this. I had sad feelings regarding my business, regarding all my plans getting canceled with this virus. I imagine, especially when you're a teenager, when you're younger, when your brain's not as developed yet, like, emotions feel a lot stronger for you than they do as an adult, at least in my experience. So I don't blame her for feeling sad. I blame Erin and the parents involved for organizing this whole hot mess. Perhaps it was the lack of closure that drove her and her peers to go as far as having their own celebration while disguising it as a Black Lives Matter protest. Not long after the graduation ceremony ended, Kate texted her classmates on an app called GroupMe to tell them about her idea, informing them that while the county can ban huge gatherings, they can't ban anyone from marching. It turns out that only a week before the school's original proposal got rejected, Kate had participated in a Black Lives Matter protest with several of her friends from Mira Costa High. Although these marches are meant to amplify Black voices and fight for their basic human rights, Kate and her friends used the opportunity to celebrate and have their own mini reunion. The experience apparently helped spark the idea of creating a new march so that the seniors could party together. So at 6:30 p.m., an hour after the graduation ceremony, hundreds of seniors flooded to the Pier Plaza in downtown Hermosa, still sporting their caps and gowns. To make matters even worse, they didn't practice social distancing, and many of them were not wearing a mask. What? So I have to break this down a little bit because, first of all, as you guys know, I said I blame Erin Condren and her husband. I blame the parents the most in this situation, especially because Erin Condren is not just a mom, she's also a multi-million-dollar business owner. She has a lot of influence. She has her own fandom. Like, she needs to know better to not let her kids act this way. And when it comes to the teenagers, I always feel bad if I put too much blame on a teenager or a kid, because I know I acted stupid when I was a kid. I don't do anything this stupid, but I acted stupid as a kid. I probably said and did things. I'm grateful there was no, like, social media as much until I was a older teenager, because it's like, I'm sure some of the stuff I said was like, what? You know, I'm sure that happened. And there were times when I was like, Mom, why are you so involved in my life? But looking back, I'm grateful that my parents would never have condoned something like this. So Erin Condren and her husband, they should have known better to not allow this to happen. And then second, this is not me saying it's okay to blame teenagers for this, but there's definitely some white privilege involved in that. In my neighborhood in Chicago, you know, we have a very diverse neighborhood, right? I don't know the exact population makeup, but there's some white people, there's some black people, and there's some Asian people, right? Our neighborhood has a lot of people, specifically, like, there's a lot of African-owned restaurants and African clothing type businesses, and there are a lot of, like, Vietnamese restaurants and Korean restaurants. So, like, our neighborhood is very, you know, the cultural melting pot. I really like my neighborhood. So that's what we've got here. We also have gang activity. Every once in a while, there will be a kid that I learn of in my neighborhood, someone who's, you know, 17, 18 years old. I define that as a kid because you're very young at that age. Someone that young who I will find out has gone to jail for dealing drugs, or who got shot in a gang fight or something like that. And it blows my mind when I hear people victim blaming the child, saying, oh, he shouldn't have gotten involved with selling drugs. He shouldn't have joined a gang. Well, kids don't commit crimes because they want to be criminals. Kids commit crimes based on circumstance. And there's been a lot of this talk going around on Twitter right now that when white kids and white teenagers commit crimes or do something stupid or do something horrible, it gets referred to as a mistake or a learning experience. But oftentimes when a black teenager does the same thing, they end up having to deal with law enforcement. They end up going to jail. There just ends up being, and you know, we know that racism is alive and well. We know that there's discrimination. We know that there are inequalities deeply rooted within our system that perpetuate these cycles that cause these things to happen. So this is all my roundabout way of saying these teenagers, I don't want to put on blast and say these are horrible people because they're immature young teenagers who are stupid. But it's also having to keep in mind that in the same breath that I say that, I also have to say, I can't believe, and I'm still appalled at how many people think it's okay to punish black teenagers in the way that they do for a petty crime or for selling drugs or for, you know, anything that white teenagers would often get away with. So that's a long rant for me to say that. So if you guys see racism in the way that teenagers are treated and blamed, call it out, because it's bullshit and it needs to stop. I'm not saying that these teenagers should have their lives ruined for something stupid, but I am saying that we need to recognize that the fact that they're white has often allowed them to get free of the racist systems that would punish them for doing something stupid, and therefore they still deserve to be called out. Does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense, let me know in the comments below, because this is a complicated and difficult issue, and I want to make sure that I'm explaining it well, because this is appalling. But when it comes down to it, who I have no forgiveness for is Erin Condren, because she's the mom, and her husband too, but he's not famous, so I'm not trying to not blame the man, it's just that he's not famous. These parents should have put a stop to this. When their kids suggested this, they should have said, that is terrible and exploitative, and I am absolutely forbidding you from doing it. You know, as a parent, you still have rights to tell your kids what to do. They're still living under your roof. They might be 18 years old and being like, oh my god, mom, I'm an adult, whatever. Watch your fucking kids. Alright, countless fans are now canceling Erin Condren for exploiting the Black Lives Matter movement. As they should. A lot of fans are disappointed in Erin for doing something so insensitive and hurtful, especially in a time when the Black community is calling for help. She and her family basically used their privilege to abuse the freedom to protest, and the fact that they carelessly gathered without using caution in a pandemic is a big shock to many. Yes, so there are two major things going on. One, the fact that they took a protest for human rights. They took a protest of Black people calling, hey, stop racial profiling, stop letting the police be too quick to use force, stop letting police officers get off without any kind of penalty or going to jail or getting legally charged when they're killing people, right? That's what this is about. And these people were like, let's just make it about ourselves. Let's make it about our graduation party. That's fucking ridiculous. That's inexcusable. And then on top of that, they didn't practice social distancing. They didn't wear masks. I remember seeing in the photo, there was like one kid off in a corner wearing his graduation robe and wearing a mask and standing 6 feet away from his classmates. So like, shout out to that kid, I guess. Erin Condren's current CEO, Erin Condren herself, is no longer the CEO of this company. The current CEO, Tanya Missever, I don't know if I'm saying that right, she made a statement on June 18th discussing what happened. So let's take a look at her statement. She says, one of the reasons I joined the Erin Condren brand was because of the incredible community. Not only does our team feel like family, but the community of planner enthusiasts who share the same deep appreciation for paper that I do has brought incredible joy and inspiration. When I became CEO 6 months ago, it was this emotional connection to the Erin Condren brand that excited and invigorated me. Our customers have been proud to support us and make our products a part of the big and small moments in their lives. And I want to state right now, while I can't change the past, I am committed to making sure we earn that pride every day moving forward. Today, I understand that many customers are hurt, angry, and disappointed. Our founder, a person we love, recently made a careless and dangerous decision when helping to plan a personal event marking the high school graduation of her 4 children. That event was a mistake in several ways. It was poorly conceived and horribly executed in light of the gravity of the COVID-19 pandemic. More importantly, the graduation walk should never have been mentioned in the same breath as the Black Lives Matter movement. Black Lives Matter works to save lives. Black Lives Matter is striving to address the realities of racial injustice and racial inequity in our country. While the company was not aware of or involved in the graduation event, we understand why many people are angry and disappointed in the role our namesake played. She has now taken a leave of absence from the company. Even though the company and its nearly 200 employees were not involved, as the CEO, I accept responsibility in earning back your trust in this brand. 2 weeks ago, we announced our initial comments to address racial inequity within our company. It was a good start, but we need to do more. We are now mandating implicit bias training for everyone in leadership. We believe in backing up good intentions with education and expanded awareness of our blind spots. We will continually take steps to make meaningful progress in the areas closest to our work, education, opportunity, and families. We remain fully committed to racial justice, change, and action in support of righting wrongs against Black Americans. And we need to be accountable to our customers on this. That's why we keep you updated on our progress every month via the blog, where we have shared our ongoing commitments. Erin Condren team members work to help customers plan for and preserve key moments in our day and in their lives. Wow, that was just some PR speak. This moment in our nation's history is not one the company will ignore. This is a moment for which all of us will be held accountable. I promise one thing to our customers: our company will not let you down again. So that was the statement of the CEO, mentioning that Erin Condren herself had chosen to step down during this time, which is definitely for the best. So here's what Erin posted on her Instagram about this. I love the company that I founded. I love what it has meant to our customers and the community of people who use and love our products. Mostly, I love the people who work there. I know how committed they are to helping people and doing good. It was hard to read the recent statement from our CEO. It was hard to read, but it is true. My decisions and my words related to my children's recent graduation event were careless and dangerous. While our intention was to recognize graduates who have had much of their senior year taken away by COVID, I fully realized the event I planned with some other parents was a mistake. Also, she's admitting she planned it here. So that article kind of pushed the blame onto the teenager, but Erin knows what she did. And while there are a number of inaccuracies in the media coverage of the event, it was still a mistake. A number of inaccuracies? You mean like how they blamed your child for it instead of you? Maybe you should mention that right up front. Main inaccuracy was that this was 100% my fault. I also recognize now there's no way 600 black students would have been allowed to march and celebrate in the same way without masks during a pandemic. That is one more example of the white privilege that has been such an unseen part of my life. The fact that I couldn't see it before scares me. Now I see it and I'm sorry. I'm sorry I was so oblivious to the realities that so many black Americans have been living with for so long. I want to figure out how I can be part of the change that is needed in this country. That begins today, and that is why I'm going to take a leave of absence from the company. The team there is creative, passionate, diverse, and amazing, and I don't want to distract from the great work they're doing. So, over the next several months, I'm going to listen, think, examine, reflect, and serve however I can. I will keep you updated here on my journey. Thank you to my team, our customers, and community for listening and teaching me. At least she apologized and didn't try to blame someone else like Rachel Hollis did. But let's see how the fans are reacting. This is not enough. Listening and learning is the new thoughts and prayers. Enjoy your vacation. Enjoy your vacation really stuck out because then people brought up a point that Erin did not address, which is whether or not this leave of absence is paid or unpaid. Like, what's sad about this is that, like, even if her company doesn't have her involved with it anymore, if people buy things from her company, she's still going to benefit from that financially because even if she's not the CEO, she's the founder of the company, unless by taking a leave of absence she means I have turned this company over to other people until further notice and I am not a part of it, I don't even have equity, whatever, because otherwise people would still be supporting her. So people are in a tough spot right now, right? Because her business has all these other employees and, like, you don't want them to lose their jobs because the business fails, especially because during this pandemic people have been losing their jobs left and right, but you also don't want to support Erin Condren herself, who's somebody who's been doing this awful shit. So she should have probably clarified whether or not it was paid. I think that makes a huge difference. As a white New Yorker and a teacher, give me a break. You're still insinuating that the media is inaccurate. I've buried multiple people thanks to COVID. This is not a good look for you. I agree. Most entrepreneurs could not simply leave the company they founded and go do whatever. That's a huge show of more white privilege. You aren't held accountable for your actions in this, and you aren't taking real responsibility for what happened. I'm disappointed but not surprised. I give it a week before the company is rebranded as simply EC and life goes on as usual. While you're on your White Lady of Wealth sabbatical, maybe find out what sticker paper is. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think she did the right thing by taking a leave of absence? Do you think it's the right thing only if it's unpaid? Do you think that she should have done something different, that she should have stayed with the company because it seems like she's running away from it otherwise? What do you guys think of this? Let me know your thoughts on this issue in the comments below because this was incredibly awful, disgusting, disappointing. I can't believe that there are even more people out here exploiting both the fight for racial equality and the pandemic that's killing people. I can't believe it. I have plenty of friends, I have viewers on this channel who have reached out to me who have been saying, I lost my job due to the pandemic. I've had people talking about how they were put on furlough and are struggling, and none of these people are trying to, that I've seen at least. I trust you guys though. Nobody I've seen outside of like these shady ass people are trying to use that to turn a profit for themselves. And while Erin wasn't trying to turn a profit here, she still was exploiting a movement to make it about herself and about her own family. Fuck Erin Condren. I will see you guys all again soon. In the meantime, don't forget to support small businesses. In the description below, I've linked a thread of Black-owned small businesses. Go ahead and support them. Don't support Erin Condren. Bye!